Welcome, everyone, to another episode of the PLA podcast. I have an incredible guest here that I'm really looking forward to interviewing, and I've been looking forward to interviewing for the last couple of months. Subramani, welcome to the PLA podcast.
Thanks for having me, Julia.
It's a
And I'm really glad to be here and looking forward to our conversation.
Absolutely. I'd love to formally introduce you to our audience because they haven't had the privilege that we've had at PLA of getting to know you truly. So I'm going to run them through a little bit of your story and your background. Today, I'm speaking to Subramani, and he has been an experienced a delivery executive and management consultant specializing in data analytics and AI and ML. He has 20 plus years in the IT industry with 15 plus years leading complex technical portfolios and programs. Currently based in Washington, D.C., in the metro area, he focuses on digital transformation, AI and ML solutions, data analytics programs, and high impact delivery. Subramani has 10 plus years guiding organizations through agile transformations and change management. He has successfully helped teams shift from waterfall to agile, building high performance cross functional teams in the process. He works closely with senior leadership to ensure technology strategy aligns with the business goals, as always. He is currently expanding his leadership expertise through the CTO program at Wharton School and AI ML coursework at the McCombs School of Business. Subramani is passionate about solving complex challenges and helping organizations thrive in rapidly evolving tech landscapes. Please welcome Subramani. It's so lovely to have you on here.
Thank you, Julia. Appreciate it.
I'd love to know, you've had an incredible career and you're still so dedicated to your evolution and your growth. I'd love to know if there was one piece of advice you wish someone had told you at the beginning of your career. What do you wish it had been, knowing everything that you know now?
That's a fantastic question, Julia. And this question really resonates with me. I started my career as a mainframe developer, where my area of focus was much smaller. I was primarily writing code and delivering working software, right, as a programmer, right, developer. And as I gained more experience and acquired leadership skills, I slowly transitioned from developer role to a management role, and where I was giving up my coding skills without even realizing it. So by the time I fully transitioned into leadership role as a delivery leader, I totally stopped coding. Right, I'm not at all coding. I've been involving with the technical discussions, but not really a coding, because my focus changed from day-to-day execution to bridging strategic goals to execution. So, but I really wanted to retain my coding skills, which I personally felt helps me stay sharp, but I didn't get much time at all, right? As the technology disruptions happened in the industry, I noticed that even senior leaders have become more hands-on these days than in the past. So I realized it's vital to be hands-on, right, for technology delivery leader, and not just a developer. Anyone should code, should know how to code. So when AML started getting traction in the past few years, I enrolled in a future-proof AML technology course and gained my hands-on coding skills back. So I was so happy at the time. This hands-on skill not only helps to be more efficient, effective at work, but also helps to build personal projects outside of work. Therefore, the one piece of advice I would offer my younger self is not to give up coding skills, but to stay hands-on and stay technical and remain hands-on, regardless of the role that you take on.
I love this question. And actually, like, this answer to this question, one thing that it brings up as a secondary question to your answer is, so many people are in leadership roles right now and are torn between the responsibilities that they have as a leader, while also not losing, like you said, those hands-on skill and being really connected to what's happening day to day, like coding, etc. How does someone really balance both? What would you suggest? A lot of our leaders that are like, oh, I need to get back to that hands-on work, but how do I balance that while being a leader?
I mean, it's depending on our goal, right? If we are coming from application background, like in my background,
Yeah.
I always stay technical. Although I stopped coding about 10 years ago, I was really very technical person. I could easily understand the technical complexities and to translate them into plain language for non-technical stakeholders. But the only difference is I wasn't getting a chance to develop any piece of software, because my focus shifted from execution, day-to-day execution, the development, to strategic alignment, where I worked with the senior leaders from business to understand their priorities and then working with the IT teams to deliver those product features. But in order to stay technical, my suggestion would be, I always did it also. I would pick up a low-hanging task or two. I would talk to the developers or the project managers. I would say, hey, I developed a Python skill, for instance. I want to pick up the task and just start doing. It's going to be a struggle for sure. I won't be able to develop as good as a developer, but at least I can still keep up with the technology to learn slowly. But more recently, AML has gotten traction, right? Especially like after OpenAI launched ChatGPT. So that is when I felt that I should do AML course to fully get back to hands-on. I'm not going to be developer still, but these days, even startup companies, the CTOs, they're all pretty technical. That they do all hands-on work, they do architecture design, and even testing also have seen CTOs performing testing. Not only the startup companies with up to 10 people, even there are, I have seen in an instance where the company size was more than 200 or even 250, the CTO was pretty hands-on and like a developer, right? So,
wow, beautiful. I think that there's so much value in staying technical and staying, very current in the changes, especially in this industry of technology that's changing so quickly, to be able to stay connected, be able to work with colleagues, communicate exactly what we need and understanding these changes. And it requires quite a bit of effort and dedication. And what I'd love to highlight you on is, even throughout your career, even today, you are still investing so much time, energy, effort, and money in really making sure that your skills are up to date and dedicated to your growth and evolution.
absolutely, Dunya. I mean, in the current era where the world is going in terms of technology, the technology evolves day to day, every day. When we wake up tomorrow morning, we never know whether the technology that is there today will be there or there could be new technology. So from that aspect, the investment is very needed, and it's very worth also for anyone, not just for technology leader, even for the developers, programmers, or even project managers, to keep up with the technology developments every day. It's going to help them not only from a personal satisfaction standpoint, but also especially from career standpoint. So they'll be more marketable in the job market.
Yeah, absolutely. I'd love to know, Subramani, we often talk about the highlights of one's career and what has really worked out. And we realize that it's oftentimes in the biggest challenges that we've moved through in our careers that we grow really the most. I'd love to know, what were your greatest challenges throughout your career, and how did they really push you to evolve and to make sure that you transformed into the person necessary to be able to grow in your career?
Now, that's a great question, Junior. Everyone faces challenges, right, all the time, not only in their career path, but also in personal life. And I'm a strong believer that the challenges we face help us to develop skills necessary to navigate our personal life and career as well. I wasn't an exception. I definitely faced numerous challenges along my career path. Let me walk you through a few challenges I faced in my career. Probably I should say early career. The first major challenge was communication. I came from non-English medium education, and I was surrounded by people speaking in their native language. So developing the fluency and the confidence needed to lead diverse teams did not come naturally to me at all, since I studied in my local language, and then when I started working, it was English. So basically, that was my next thing. When I started my career in a major city in India, I was exposed to people from diverse languages, because India has so many languages, right? Different states have different languages, where the common language used to communicate with each other was English. I initially faced challenges speaking in English, even though I was able to understand when others spoke. This challenge forced me to be very intentional about improving my ability. not just speaking English fluently, but communicating clearly, concisely, with presence. Over time, that became one of my biggest strengths, especially when I began working with the senior executive leaders. So at work, there were many times I was appreciated for taking notes clearly, concisely, and presenting them, professionally as well.
Wow. And
So,
yeah.
yeah, please.
Wonderful. And I love this thing of, such emphasis and awareness around how communication has been a major theme throughout your life and your career, up from growing up to walking into your professional life and, being so aware of that importance of English, even had you were understanding it, but weren't able to communicate it fully. There's
Right.
something really powerful of being aware of that. Until this day, you've invested in your growth and communication, which is amazing.
Yeah, I mean, I sometimes, when I reflect on Junior, where I started and where I'm today, I myself surprised actually that I came so far that I should take credit at some times.
Yeah. Absolutely agree. And what do you think were some of the factors that allowed you to get so far, especially with, such a change and transformation through your communication?
Absolutely. So before we go there, I just want to mention one more thing also. Like it just came into my mind. One more challenge I faced also.
Absolutely.
So I started my career as a developer, as I mentioned earlier, right? But when I began moving to leadership, I got completely overwhelmed. So I was trying to do all my own coding tasks that I assigned to myself and also lead the rest of the team. So, but we only have so many hours in a day. We do not have much time, right? Only 8 hours, 8 working hours in a day. And I was trying to do everything myself. So this meant I was always falling behind. I spoke with one of my leadership mentors, and that's when I learned that a critical lesson: how to actually be a leader by giving up control, not retaining control, but giving up control to others so that others could perform their work. So that challenge taught me two big things. So first thing, you have to trust your team to handle the work. The second, delegation is not about reducing my workload. It's about supporting their growth, my team's growth, right? So by giving my teams challenging tasks outside of their normal duties, I was actively preparing them to move up and become leaders themselves as well. And in terms of the reason I brought it up is it aligns with communication also, right? So initially I struggled again with communication, even at times interacting with the team. But then I always reflect on, once I complete my day, I go back and reflect on what could have been done better. How did I communicate? So that helped me a lot. And also reading books and speaking more often in English, right? Although I was struggling, I know for sure, but that the practice is what helped me a lot actually. So continuously speaking in English, even though if I meet somebody who could speak local language, I intentionally spoke in English so that I could develop my skills.
Beautiful. And I love this piece around the connection between communication and leadership. And I love that piece with the more we allow ourselves to communicate with our team openly, fluently, continuously, and even, like you said, refining the use of a new language to be able to communicate with our team, so important. And I even love that piece around leadership that you brought up, which was, can I trust my team and encourage my team to trust themselves with these new tasks and these new abilities, even though at times it was challenging, even that times these tasks were challenging, to trust that they had what it takes to be able to grow into this role and to what they need. That's amazing and so beautiful and important. And I think like leadership really is an art, and it's, this constant evolution of ourselves and in relation to others.
Absolutely, Dunya. So leadership is kind of it's a depend on individual, right? So there is no definitive leadership style. So one could be servant leadership, and ultimately what we want is empathy towards our team and others. And if we don't build trust with team, they will not trust us also. So then we'll not get the work done. So,
Absolutely. And trust is fostered over time. I love that. And it can be enjoyable. Their projects can oftentimes be so difficult and challenging. And how can we make it this beautiful process?
Exactly. I mean,
I
that brings another challenge that now I was facing also in my early career, actually.
Yeah.
Um, so it's basically when we work in any industry, we gain different knowledge, kind of a business domain, right?
Mm.
So I was having spent most of my career with the consulting firms, supporting variety of clients from different business domains. So this has been a persistent challenge for me. I've been working 3 months here, 3 months there, for instance, and I worked across a large number of business domains from highly regulated industries like financial services, investment banking, to healthcare and the government, right? Early in my career, I worried that not specializing in a single sector or industry might be disadvantage, right? So, but eventually, I realized it was actually my strength, actually, because I wasn't focusing on one industry, but I was focusing on multiple industries where I could apply learnings from one industry to other industry. So that way, I was able to improve or bring more value to the client. So that gave me opportunities to learn different business, right, domains, especially the regulated business. When we go to the financial services, which is heavily regulated, the same time, if you go to pharma industry, that is heavily regulated also, but in a different aspect. So that helped me to really, combine my learnings from different industries, so that I could come up with my own framework, if you will, to identify the risks and issues early and how effectively the testing can be performed and how value can be added to the client.
Wow, I love this. Yeah, often I love that. I think that, varied experiences really, especially if we have a highly intelligent and creative brain, we can allow ourselves to pull from all of these different experiences and projects. And then all of a sudden it starts to make sense with these new experiences we face. It reminds us of these other moments. Oh, I remember seeing this in a project, even though it was in a different context or in a different industry. There's certain tools and nothing goes lost. Really, all of these experiences we pull into our future and the tasks that we're facing currently. I think that there's something, you know, and it's interesting. The thought that comes up is so many times we judge this concept of a jack of all trades, but there is so much value of someone who has played so many different roles or had so many different kinds of experiences, because it enriches the way the brain can think and the way we adapt to certain situations, especially when we've been in so many different environments. So I love what we're talking about. I think there's a lot of value of reflecting on what are the various experiences we each of and every one of us have been through. And I'm encouraging the audience of really reflecting on their own experience right now, all of these different facets and projects they've worked on, and how are they each and every one of them serving what they're working on currently today.
Absolutely, Dunya. So, in my perspective, I think that's kind of added advantage for leaders, actually, so that we don't specifically focus in one area. We focus in multiple industries and domains. We take all the best practices and package them into a new methodology, if you will, and then applying like wherever it's possible, so that we could add more value to the investment. So
Absolutely. Absolutely. This brings me to my next question, which has been, the hot topic of I want to say the century, but it's of the hour, really. It's so new. It's new to the masses, but it's not new to many industries that have been using it for a long time. This onset of AI and this use of this incredible tool that has been also challenging. I'd love to get your thoughts and perspectives on it.
absolutely, Dunya. So my perspective on AI is fundamentally shaped by my experience. I led my first artificial intelligence and machine learning initiatives or programs more than a decade ago. So I can tell you that artificial intelligence and machine learning is not new technology itself. What is new is the recent explosion in AI capabilities and adoption, especially following breakthroughs like ChatGPT. So what's even more interesting is that AI adoption has gone far beyond enterprises. As I wrote in my recent LinkedIn post, hidden AI in your pocket, anyone with a smartphone is already using AI, right? Often without realizing it. We don't even realize we're using AI, but we use it day to day, right? Features like predictive text and on-device language models show that AI has quietly become mainstream consumer utility these days. Even when we shop on Amazon platforms, I mean, platforms like Walmart.com or Amazon.com, the product recommendations we see are generated by machine learning models based on our past purchase history, right? So we see a lot of related products recommended by Amazon.com when we try to shop any product. On the enterprise side, investment is huge, as we all know, but the reality is that successful deployment and measurable ROI are lagging behind the market hype. There is so much hype in the market. The biggest challenge right now is not the technology itself, it's the governance, data readiness, and integrating AI effectively across the business, right? Looking ahead, I expect AI adoption to continue accelerating from more mature autonomous vehicle systems to early forms of home robotics. But ultimately, AI isn't just a new technology S curve. It's a foundational shift in how both consumers and enterprises leverage these capabilities.
I love it. And I'm curious, my next question really is, how do you view the role of AI in shaping the future of workforce?
That's a great question, Junior. Now, because there is a common misconception that AI is simply going to replace the entire workforce. Let me break it down simply, right? AI is absolutely going to reshape the workforce, not just by replacing jobs, but by redefining them. So many routine tasks will be automated, which creates space for people to focus on high value work that requires a human judgment, creativity, and a problem solving. For leaders, the real responsibility is guiding this transition thoughtfully, investing in upskilling, creating opportunities for employees to adapt, and implementing AI in ways that strengthen both productivity and people. There is also a critical macroeconomic dimension to consider, right? If job substitution happens faster than new roles emerge, the resulting reduced income, people will all obviously lose jobs, right? They will have no income, so that will have impact on the economy itself because if no income and the people will not be able to spend money. If people are not spending money, and they won't be, the economy will not grow. Actually, it will tank. So I can give you an example. Let's hypothetically assume that there are 10 million jobs today, and say that AI will replace about 50% of the jobs in the next 10 years. Just hypothetical numbers, right? And scenario. If 50% of the workforce lose job as corporate leverages more and more AI, and like I mentioned, there'll be no money. People will be laid off. They will not have any fixed income every week or every month. So that would lead to what I call is a multiplier effect, negative impact to multiplier effect. Because when we spend, the money changes multiple places. It moves to multiple hands, right? That's how money circulates. Then the economy is booming at that time. So I always tell people that if 50% of the workforce is laid off due to AI or replaced due to AI, then our economy itself will tank. And if economy tanks, we'll lose our competitive advantage as a country, right? Any country, not just our country, right? Any country. So I strongly believe that the governments probably around the world, and also the policymakers will be forced to make some regulations and also governance around usage of AI with respect to the workforce.
Absolutely. I think there's so much that you've brought up in this piece around AI and the effects of AI now that we actually aren't thinking about as the general public that's using it. So there's something quite substantial of let's see how things end up playing out in the next few months, few years. And I think the world is going to change drastically, and the world will also have to adapt to this change that we're seeing.
Absolutely, Dunia. I mean, we think that people are not using, actually, only the corporates are using AI. But like I mentioned in my article, and I mentioned also, right? So we're all using AI day to day without even realizing it. And for instance, the large language models, right, ChatGPT or Gemini or Meta's Llama, I'm sure everyone is using every day, whether they want to generate a content or they want to validate whether the grammar is correct or the spell check and all these things. we all pretty much, I think, use AI. I don't remember the numbers actually, but when ChatGPT was launched, I think within few days they hit millions of users. Now you couldn't think of I had that number, but I don't have it right now. I think if
Incredible.
I remember correctly, 5 million, and then the number of the user visiting ChatGPT site, it grew exponentially, right, to double digit, millions. I don't know exactly, but I think it's a exponential growth. So pretty much we're all using AI one way or other way, knowingly or unknowingly, right? For a smartphone, some people don't even realize, but people, when they want to get their job done, as a supplement, so they look for LLM. I can give you one great example also. I wanted to build my own portfolio website so that I could write articles, I could post my own articles. The LinkedIn has certain limitations, right? The formatting and so forth. And that's when I wanted to develop my own website. 2 weeks ago, I used LLM. I have experience in HTML, CSS, but it's been more than 10, 15 years. And I had to brush up everything. It's going to take a long time. It could be like 10 days or 20 days, depending on my personal work as well as my official work, right? So then I was debating myself, how can I develop? I want to develop pretty quickly. I don't want to delay it to another 3 months or 6 months. Then I thought about an idea. Why don't I use a LLM so that I could check whether LLM could help me to build a website? It's not going to build, but at least it could direct me as to how to build, and it could possibly give me the code, right? So, but I was very much surprised that when I used LLM, it gave me pretty much the entire code. But there were some issues also with the code. It's not 100% foolproof, but I had to correct some of the code based on my technical expertise. So that's where we all talk about AI. AI is changing everything, but not without human factor. So AI is doing its work, but maybe 80% correct, 90% correct, right? So remaining the 20 or 10%, that's where the human factor comes in. At the end of the day, whether it's LLM or another model, supervised model, right? It's all trained. In order to train the model, we need human factors also to oversee how the model responds, whether it's appropriate or inappropriate content, whether it's delivering. So from those aspects, I think human factor is very, very critical. AI cannot operate on its own, at least for now. That's my take.
Oh, I love it. And I think your example was so well described in the sense where it fast tracked that process of having to do it yourself, but also it required you to go over and make some tweaks and arrangements and adjustments as needed to be able to create a finished product that was, user friendly or presentable or at the standards of what you wanted it to be created. Yeah, there's so much there, and I feel like we could do an entire episode on your background with AI and your knowledge and experience and expertise. I'd love to ask you my favorite question on the PLA podcast, which really is, what is the legacy and impact you're still looking forward to leaving behind in this world, Subramani?
I just want to be remembered as a good person, Junior, someone who was kind, honest, and reliable. Some of my friends always call me a strict officer for being transparent and honest.
Love
I hope my family can look back and say, he always did the right thing, even when it was hard.
Wow.
And if I can leave behind the examples of having strong ethics, character, and I think that's enough for me. So
I love it. True person of integrity, which I admire very much so. I wanted to ask you that my another question, we're on the PLA podcast, so I do ask every guest, what has been the most surprising takeaway you've gotten from PLA thus far?
I mean, the first and foremost, I never thought that I would be on a podcast like this and you'd be speaking very fluently. Uh,
Oh,
as I mentioned earlier, like I came from a non-English background, and that is always a kind of a fear, right? We all have that. At least in my case, I had that fear, speaking in public. The workplace is different because we work with a team for so long and we get used to it, so we speak very fluently. But when it comes to the public speaking, so I was always hesitant. But joining the PLA, so that's a transformational, I would say. The coaches are great, Brendan, communication coach, and Vamsi and Venkat. It's about a month and a half since I joined the PLA, but I learned so much actually. I cannot even list all these things. It's not just the teaching, right? It's about how we change ourselves also. Hearing alone is not going to help. implementing is what that's going to make that a real change. So the motivation that was given by the coaches, that really helped me to transform from where I was 2 months ago or a month and a half ago, and now I see a lot of difference.
Wonderful. Beautiful. And you're someone who's been implementing that change and that work, in such little time, having so many results is also a testament to you taking advantage of the incredible resources and the richness that's within that community. So just wanted to really highlight that within you.
Absolutely, Tunia. I mean, Vamshi and the coaches say always the inner circle, right? And the proximity group. So that's very, very powerful, actually. So when we are surrounded by like-minded people and we're all on the same mission or similar mission, I should say, so that helps us to elevate our knowledge and the skills. And also it makes a lot of difference.
Absolutely. Amazing. And for anyone who is curious about PLA and for whatever reason you're tuning into this episode for the very first time, I'm going to put a QR code. This is the workshop that the PLA founders host continuously. It's totally free. Even if you never hear of PLA again, there's so much value and resources and richness that you will find just from this experience. You'll end up leaving absolutely speechless. I've attended so many times, and the founders have poured so much into the community, into the public through this beautiful workshop they've put together. So if you're curious, you're always welcome to come. No pressure as always. Just want to put that out there in case someone was curious. And just wanted to take a moment and just really thank you, Subramani, for your incredible time on the PLA podcast today. It's been an absolute treat having you on.
Thank you so much for having me, Junior. I truly enjoyed our conversation about my professional journey, the challenges I faced along the way, how AI is evolving, and its impact on the workforce and the economy. I really enjoyed the conversation. Thank you for the opportunity.
Anytime, truly. And looking forward to having you on once again as a guest for sure. And to everyone tuning in, thank you for listening in to this incredible episode we've had. And we'll catch you all for the next episode on the PLA podcast.
Thank you.